Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. And today I'm going to be talking about why a lot of immigrants in Norway struggle. I do believe I am qualified to talk about this because, well, I lived here for over 20 years and I am an immigrant myself, so I know what it's like, and I know the challenges a lot of immigrants face because I face a lot of them too. In the Norwegian media, we hear a lot of statistics and numbers about how the immigrants are doing here, and usually it's not very positive news, honestly, because immigrants are always on the top of the they're overrepresenting in the welfare statistic, like unemployment and education level, etc. A lot of the news of the statistic on immigrants are true, and a lot of immigrants don't do well here because for multiple reasons. And here are my few, at least what I think are few reasons why a lot of immigrants struggle to kind of how should I say, be successful in Norway. Number one, the language barrier. The language barrier is quite obvious one, because if you can't speak the language or can't read, you're gonna have a hard time communicating, and everything's gonna be more difficult. And since this is Norway, that means everybody speaks Norwegian, and it also means that the sign is gonna be Norwegian. Everything, the important news is gonna be in Norwegian. All the different letters you can get are gonna be in Norwegian. The first generation immigrants who moved to Norway, most of them can speak a little bit or sometimes not a single word. Maybe thank you or goodbye, the basics ones. So the first generation immigrants, they send their kids to a Norwegian school, and their kids come back home with homework, and sometimes a lot of times kids don't understand homework and they might need help. And who are the first you usually ask? Well, your parents. Well, unfortunately for immigrants, that's going to be a problem because, your parents can't read Norwegian. They can't understand what the homeworks are saying, so that means they can't help you. So you see that the first generation can't speak the language, and it's going to affect the second generation with their education because they can't understand even the basics. While a lot of the Norwegians, they have parents, grandparents, everyone around them grown up speaking Norwegian like it's drinking water. And because of the language barrier, the list of the problems will just go up and on and on. And it's things will only get harder for them as they grow up. Number two, cultural differences. Norwegian culture is quite different from, for example, Eastern Europeans, Middle Easterns, African, Asian, etc. And cultural differences is also a problem for something a lot of immigrants face here. Because they're not used to maybe some of the laws here, they're not used to the social norms, and they're not used to a lot of things compared to where they're from. Now, for example, I remember when I was growing up, when I visit schoolmates, going to them after school and playing video games and doing homework, and of course sometimes actually got invited to have dinner with them. And that's nice, good food and all that. But here's where the problem starts. Now, in Norwegian culture, if somebody invites you and tell you, hey, you want to have a dinner with us, and you say, sure, thank you, sounds normal, right? Completely fine. But however, since I lived in a Chinese household, and Chinese culture is different from Norwegian culture. For some weird reason, my mom, when I told her on the phone, I called, hey, I'm with my friend in his house now. And I told her hey, I'm having dinner with this and that person. And she somehow got upset and started feeling embarrassed and almost yelled at me at the phone. I'm like, hey, what are you doing eating at someone else's house? Don't do that, it's rude. See, the thing is here, in Chinese culture, if somebody makes you an offer, I don't know, could be like offering you food, water, maybe even offer to drive you home. When somebody offers you something, you're supposed to say no and turn it down, because saying yes immediately is rude. I don't know why, and I till this day still haven't figured out, and at this point I really don't care. It's just quite stupid in my opinion. Now, would that little thing change a lot in my life, saying yes or no? Probably not. But the point is, when immigrants, second generations, are growing up here, they are constantly being told to do things in different ways. Whatever they're learning in the school, in the Norwegian schools, in Norwegian society, and when they bring that idea back home to wherever country that immigrant is from, is considered wrong or not right, or sometimes even bad, and vice versa. Whatever you're learning from home is wrong in the school, and it's very difficult for immigrants' kids to grow up with constantly being told to go different ways all the time and never actually being secure about okay, what is the norm here? What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? And Norwegians, on the other hand, when they grow up, they walk in a straight line all the way. Whatever they're learning in the home, in the school, or in their spare time activities. When they hang out with the same culture, with the same type of people, there is really not much cultural difference here. So they are having a much easier time by just walking a direct line all the way, and immigrants walking like this. Number 3, integration. The Norwegian government do spend a lot of resources and time in trying to integrate the immigrants as much as possible. I mean, when new immigrants come to Norway, I'm not certain, but I believe they have to do some mandatory language courses. Maybe 6 months to mandatory learn Norwegian, which is obviously 6 months is not that much. But however, when it comes to integration here, not just learning the language, a lot of the first generation immigrants don't integrate well. A lot of them struggle to kind of integrate into the society. Now, I'm not saying that all immigrants don't want to integrate, but a lot of them don't want to learn the language, don't want to learn about the culture, don't want to learn anything about Norwegian society. A lot of the first generation, they prefer to speak their own language, live the same lifestyle from wherever they came, and they want to keep their tradition, their language, and their culture in Norway. It is bad enough when the first generation don't want to integrate or learn anything, but it gets worse when they kind of started forcing the second generation to value their own language or their lifestyle and putting the Norwegian culture and language as a second option. Now, for example, I know a lot of immigrants from Muslim household who have a lot more conservative views, and not all of them, but who have a lot of conservative views on different things, and especially against women's. Let's, for example, just say that hey, they have a daughter who wants to go learn swimming, but their parents be like, why do you want to go swim or wear those, show your legs or body in public? That's kind of unacceptable in our tradition. In Norwegian tradition, it's open, but we are, not Norwegian. We don't do that. And now, if they're refusing their daughter to learn swimming, she missed a lot of opportunities. Who knows? Maybe she is a natural swimmer. She becomes really good. Maybe she becomes the champion of Norway, or maybe she's even good enough to represent Norway in the Olympics. But we never find out, do we? Because the parents don't allow their kids to integrate into society. Number 4. Lack of trust. Norway is one of the countries around the world that have some of the highest trust level in the society. We trust the police, we trust the media, we trust the local and the city government. We trust anybody with who's in power, and whatever they say or whatever announcement they're making, we do believe them for the most of the time. However, most immigrants come from a country where it's usually poor, and it's also where these societies don't have this trust built in, and you can't just blindly trust everything around you. And I have faced this problem myself, because a lot of Norwegian friends, they've been trusting everything around them since day one, so they feel a lot more comfortable and safe. But In my case, in China, it's not a very high trust, it's a very low trusting society. And I've been told from kind of a day one by my parents ever since I could speak. They were always telling me, hey, do not trust any outsider, do not trust strangers. Strangers and outsiders are your enemy. I remember when I was I think I was 10 or 9 years old, I just invited one of my neighbor kids. We were just playing out in the yard, and I invited him home and just thinking, hey, let's just play some video games. What could go wrong? Well, it went terribly wrong for me. I got yelled at by my parents, and my mom was constantly telling me, hey, we don't know who this kid is, we don't know what they want, we can't just bring strangers home, okay? The kid was only 8. But the point is they did not trust strangers, even little children. And when you constantly live a life where you never want to trust anybody, it can have negative consequences later on in life. Let's just say your child has mental or physical health problems. In Norway, if that's the case, your child that have some mental or physical health problems, you do get more extra support. You have one assistant with that child all the day. They do take care of the weak people here. But you, as a parent, know that okay, my child may be mentally disabled in certain ways, but you refuse to share that information with the school, with the doctor, or with anyone because you don't know what they're gonna do with that information. Maybe you are afraid, if they find out my kid have a certain mental disorder, they may kick my child out of the school, which is of course not gonna happen in Norway. But in their mind, a lot of the immigrants do not trust the government. Number 5, discrimination. Now, before anybody say anything, I am not saying that all Norwegians are racist. Sure, some Norwegians are racist, but so are a lot of immigrants as well. Immigrants can be racist towards Norwegians and towards each other. Now, the discrimination in Norway is usually related to the job market. The typical discrimination in Norway is usually because of your name on the job market. When you apply for a job and the employers kind of see your name, okay, they see that person is not Norwegian, they're gonna be a lot more skeptical towards you. And if you have a Norwegian name, well, you have a better chance of getting the job. If you're an immigrant and having a non-Norwegian name, the research have showed that you have 25% less chance of getting the job or even to the job interview if your name is not Norwegian, because they're gonna be skeptical. They'll be like, okay, that person may not speak the language or don't know anything. Why do we want to hire him? This research, of course, was done many years ago, but it's still very relevant till this day. And so you end up with a lot of immigrants changing their name to a Norwegian name, and just because they can have a better chance on the job market. Because we do hear stories all the time, hey, this and that person didn't get the job because they assumed their name was the reason. And when they funny thing is, when a lot of them change the name on purpose, they do test when they file for a job, like, okay, I'll test with my original name, I don't get the job. I test with Norwegian name, I all of a sudden get a job interview. And a lot of this happens a lot in Norway. Immigrants face discrimination like this a lot, all the time. Of course, at the end of the day, whether you get the job or not, your education level will still decide your future overall. You're watching this video and thinking like, oh my god, they are so discriminated towards immigrants, I maybe shouldn't move here. Well, it's not either or, okay? It's not like, okay, if you're Norwegian, you automatically gonna get a job and opportunities anytime, anywhere. Or if you're immigrants, you have like 1% chance of getting a job. No, of course not. It's not like black or white, but just statistically, immigrants having a harder time. But like myself, I'm an immigrant. All my past 4 or 5 jobs I had over the 10 plus years, all of my former bosses and current boss were all Norwegians. And a lot of my friends who are immigrants from different nationalities, they all have a good job and well-paid job, they have good education, they're doing fine. So it's not impossible for an immigrant to get a job. So yeah, that's it for this very long video. So I appreciate everybody who watching this, and thank you all for watching. So see you next time.